The 12th C class in the Széchenyi István Gimnázium, and I thought about attending this program or this project because it helped me a lot to practice for the final examination, and I have chosen the topic addiction because when I saw the topic lists, then I thought about addictions, and only the most common known addictions came to my mind, and I wanted to get a bit deeper knowledge about the topic. And that's why I chose it, and maybe it will help somebody who is practicing or learning for their final examination about addictions and the topic of lifestyle. My presentation is going to follow a main line, which is first I'm going to talk about what addictions are, then I will go over to the topic of what can we be addicted to, then comes the fact that why we get addicted, and in the end, I want to talk about why some of us get addicted, whereas others don't. So firstly, let's talk about the definition of addiction. Addiction is if you are unable to stop using a substance or stop engaging with a kind of activity, even though it's causing you physical or mental harm. So you cannot stop, but you don't feel good by doing it. Then let's move over to what we can be addicted to. And the answer to this question is really simple because we can get addicted to literally everything, but we can make differences in how harmful the activity or substance that we are using or engaging with is, how harmful it is for us and for our health, mental or physical health. When we talk about addictions or think about addictions, we mostly think about drugs, nicotine, gambling, or alcohol because these are the most known and common known addictions in our society. And even though now, in the 21st century, we have some kind of addictions which are considered pretty normal these days. And I want to talk about mostly these because this, I think everybody can say a lot of things about them, but the addictions which are considered normal aren't so much talked about. Firstly, I want to talk about this man who is considered hardworking, ambitious, he has goals he wants to achieve, and these can be really good features, but if we do it in a really excessive way, it can be harmful. Since we are kids, we are taught to work hard, to learn for hours, to engage with things for a long period of time, to be good in it, and to accomplish the things our teachers, parents, or bosses expect us to do. And if we go into that loophole, of doing a lot of things for a long period of time to be better, in order to be more successful, in order to accomplish the things that other people expect from us, there is a word for this kind of phenomena, which is, I think you might have guessed it, workaholic. This word comes from the two words of work and alcoholic, because an alcoholic needs to take another drink after another, after another, after another, to get to the same level, or even to get to a better level of a mental state. And a workaholic does the same thing. He works more and more and more hours to be better or be at the same level which he already accomplished. So that's workaholic. Workaholics are most commonly found in the group of people who already left school. But let's talk about the other parts, the youngsters and the ones who attend still school. And in this age group, smartphone and internet addiction is, I think, a pretty big topic, because mostly we think that we are not addicted to it, or we don't have problems with using it, but it can have some bad sides. A pretty common phenomenon in this addiction group is FOMO, the fear of missing out. And about this, I'm going to talk a bit more later. Anxiety is pretty common too, because when you are on social media, then you see everybody. You can compare your life, your successes, your things you are doing with everybody's life in the whole world. And of course, there are going to be always people who are better than you. And this can cause anxiety, because then you can think, oh, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not good enough, I can't do these things, I can't do these things. And then you can have some pretty bad self-esteem of this. Then comes depression, because it is way more easier to write with somebody. You don't have to see their facial expressions, you don't have to feel the emotions the other person feels. You only just talk about on the phone and write things. And this can cause you to be lonely, because at some points it can be good, but then if you only communicate with others about the phone or on the internet, then you can get pretty lonely, because then where are the emotions? And lastly, insomnia. I think everybody knows it, especially I know it, that it is, let's say, 8 p.m. in the evening, and I start watching a series. And then there comes another episode of it, then another, then another, then another. And then I just look at the phone and see, oh God, it's 2 a.m. in the morning, tomorrow I have school. And this can go over a longer period of time, like one night you watch series till 2 a.m., then the other night till 1 a.m., and this can go into insomnia. Let's jump back to FOMO. I have taken part in a personal development training, and at some point FOMO came up, and the main trainer told us a sentence, which I quoted now in this presentation, and it really stuck with me and the other participants too. And the quote is that everything that I have done already is everything I could have done. The things that I haven't done are just stories I tell myself. Because at this point, this was everything I could do. I couldn't go to some kind of party, because, let's say I couldn't go to some kind of party because I had to learn. I felt like staying at home would be a better option. And maybe after it, I regretted, because, oh, so good. They were so good stories. They took so great pictures. I have seen it in social media. And then I just think like, why didn't I go? But at this moment, this was the best I could do. And it's okay that I didn't attend, let's say, this party. Then comes the question, why do we get addicted to? And the answer is, because of our brain. There is a so-called reward pathway, which is this blue, and it was evolved to keep up with the things and activities that help us to survive and to keep us alive. The thing how this pathway works is, let's say you smoke. If you smoke, the nicotine gets to this part of your brain, and it releases the hormone dopamine. And dopamine makes you feel happy. If you feel happy during doing something, then you want to keep up with it, or you want to do it again and again and again. The problem comes that when you take substances or do activities you abuse this activity or substance, then the brain thinks, oh God, I have too much dopamine, let's reduce the dopamine level, which I normally would produce. And then comes that after you have smoked a cigarette, you have had a few drinks, you did sports, that you feel sometimes even worse than before doing it. And that's why you want always to have another cigarette, have another drink, drink more, do something even more. And that's the point when you start losing control, because you always want to have more to keep up the same level which you were. At this point, I found it important to talk about the difference between addiction, abuse, and misuse. Addiction is if you use something or keep up with an activity for a long term without control. You cannot control when you do it. You feel like you have to do it right now, and it has a long-term effect on the brain. And the difference between misuse and abuse is taking it in order to elicit a certain feeling. You want to feel happy, you want to feel relaxed, and that's why you do the things or take a substance. And misuse is taking it more than the recommended amount, or if you take it at the wrong time. I put the example of a sleeping pill. Sleeping pill addiction, you use it for a long time, you have no control about it when you are using it, and it affects your brain, you cannot sleep without it. Abuse is, you take it because you want to feel relaxed, you want to feel calm, you have a stress day, now you want to just calm down. And misuse is, let's say the doctor prescribed you the sleeping pill, and you have to take 2 pills at 7 p.m. every night. But you take 5 pills, 2 at 6 p.m. and 3 at 10 a.m. And 10 p.m. So you misuse it. You don't use it the right way. Now I want to talk about why do some people get addicted, whereas others don't. And addiction is put together with these things: genetics, neurobiology, environment, and mental state. Easier said, the parents and the family, the way how your brain functions, the environment where you live, which city, which part, are you in poverty, are you in a higher class, and how you feel. And to make it a bit more clearer, let's take the example of the surgeon and the librarian. The genetics and parents and family doesn't matter, and the neurobiology doesn't matter too. What matters is the environment and the mental state. A surgeon works in a hospital, and people's lives are in his hands. So he has a lot of patients. He is stressed. He might have anxiety. The librarian works in a quiet environment. She only has to focus on the books, and she can be calm during her job too. And let's say these two people start drinking at the same time. The surgeon is way more likely to get addicted to alcohol than the librarian because he's stressed. Let's say when he drinks, he forgets about work. He forgets about the fact that somebody died on the table. He can feel calm. He has a good time with his friends, while a librarian drinks, let's say, a glass of wine, and with her mental state, nothing happens very much, so she's on the same level. But of course, this topic is not that easy. It's really put together, it's really difficult, and there are always exceptions, so this is not a thing that you can use on everybody and everywhere. And before I end my presentation, I want to ask a question which is related to the topic, and I think it is, even though, let's say, we are not addicted, then this question can be helpful in our everyday lives too. And the question is, do you want to go with your excuses, or do you want to find solutions? Because neurobiology, environment, genetics, mental state can be some pretty comfortable excuses. But if we feel we are stuck somewhere, if we want to change, then do you want to say, oh, I cannot change because of this? Or do you want to find a way, or do we want to find a way how to change, how to find solutions? And thank you for your attention.